Welcome, students and parents, to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going on an absolute safari. Our mission? We're going to easily master English animal names, figure out exactly where they live, and learn the unique sounds they make. And we'll be paying super close attention to clear pronunciation using Indian phonetics. This is literally the perfect study guide for your Standard 4 English scholarship prep. So, grab your imaginary binoculars. Learning these facts doesn't have to be just memorizing boring lists from a textbook. It's an adventure. Let's go. All right, here's our 4-step treasure map for today's explainer. First, we'll meet the animal kingdom, then check out animal homes and shelters, listen to the symphony of sounds, and finally, pop quiz time. So, Section 1, Meet the Animal Kingdom. Let's categorize these amazing creatures. The absolute easiest way to conquer a massive list of vocabulary is to just organize it into smaller, friendlier little neighborhoods. Take a look at this. Notice how these animals are smartly grouped into domestic, wild, water, and birds? But look closer. The really cool part is that it provides the exact Indian phonetic sounds right there in the Marathi script to guide our English pronunciation perfectly. For example, it spells out the exact sounds for cow and lion exactly as they should be spoken. Grouping them like this builds a rock-solid foundation for literally everything else we're going to learn today. Moving right along to Section 2, Animal Homes and Shelters. Let's see where these animals actually live. Okay, transitioning over to where these animals live. The secret here is that we really don't have to memorize a boring long list if we just look for the patterns. Notice how we can group all these familiar domestic animals by where we might find them on a farm, or even in a backyard. So, a cow relaxes in a pen, a byre or a shed. A dog rests in a kennel. A horse sleeps in a stable, and a hen roosts in a coop. By just visualizing a farm in your mind, you can instantly connect the animal to its specific home. So next time you picture a horse, actually picture the wooden stable built all around it. Now let's step into the jungle. Notice how lions, tigers, hyenas, and jackals all share caves or dens as their homes? This makes them incredibly easy to group and remember together. Instead of learning 4 totally different facts, you really only have to learn one. Many of the fierce, wild predators live in caves. Honestly, it's a fantastic shortcut for your brain. Right, now we absolutely need to highlight these highly specific textbook terms. I'm telling you, examiners love to ask about these because they're just so unique. A squirrel doesn't live in any old nest, it lives in a dray. An eagle commands the sky from an eyrie or eyrie. And bees, well, they busy themselves in an apiary. Seriously, write these 3 down and put a massive star next to them in your notes because they are prime targets for test questions. Up next, Section 3, the Symphony of Sounds. Let's talk animal noises. Let's see how all this builds as we transition to the totally fascinating noises animals make. Because every animal has a voice, and in English we have very specific verbs for those sounds. Take this really interesting comparison between the dog and the fox, for example. They're related, right? And they both can bark. But the domestic dog lives in a kennel and might growl at strangers, while the wild fox lives out in the earth or jungle and yelps. Noticing these subtle little overlaps and differences, that's what helps you deeply understand the animals, rather than just painfully memorizing flashcards. Okay, let's review our bird sounds with clear enunciation, pointing out some of those classic pairings. The owl hoots in the night, the duck quacks in the pond, the pigeon coos on the windowsill, the crow caws loudly, and the little sparrow chirps or twitters. Now, try saying them out loud as you study. Seriously, actually make the quack and the hoot sounds, and use those Indian phonetic spellings in your book to make sure your pronunciation is totally spot on. It physically helps lock the vocabulary right into your memory. And we definitely can't forget the dramatic sounds of the animal kingdom. A massive elephant doesn't just yell, it trumpets. A snake hisses, a donkey brays, and, perhaps most interesting of all, the hyena actually laughs or screams. Just imagine walking through the jungle and hearing a laugh in the dark. Well, now you know it's probably just a hyena in its cave. All right, Section 4, pop quiz time. Let's test your knowledge. So now that we've explored the whole kingdom, it's time for an interactive pop quiz using these actual practice questions directly from your Standard 4 book. We're going to simulate the exact test environment right here, right now, so you feel completely confident when you finally sit down for your scholarship exam. Get ready to shout out the answers. Okay, question 1. Which is the living place of a horse? Is it a hole, a stable, a cave, or a kennel? Call out the answer if you know it before we reveal it on the next slide. Think back to that farm visualization we did earlier. Excellent job. It's a stable. Because remember, caves are for wild animals like tigers, and kennels are strictly for our domestic dogs. See that? You just successfully used the process of elimination. Now here's a really fun analogy question from the source material. These are great because they test your logic. If a mouse squeaks, what sound matches the mighty tiger? Does it howl, purr, bleat, or roar? Roars is correct. Fantastic work actively applying what we learned in the tables. A tiger in its den definitely roars. Sure, a cat would purr and a sheep would bleat, but the mighty tiger? It always roars. Okay, for our final challenge, you need to play detective and eliminate the wrong pairs to find the one correct match. Look closely at the options: sheep and hoot, bee and hums, cat and chirp, wolf and hisses. Which one of these actually makes sense? The bee hums is the correct pair. And honestly, this is a beautiful example of how knowing your other facts helps you win. Knowing that an owl hoots, a sparrow chirps, and a snake hisses helps you quickly eliminate all those wrong answers. The bee lives in the apiary and it hums or buzzes. As we wrap up this explainer, I actually want to leave you with a little bit of a mystery. Did you notice how the kangaroo's living place is left completely blank with a dash in your textbook tables? They gave us the sounds and the names, but no home. So, what do you think a kangaroo's home is actually called in the wild? Do they even have a specific home, or do they just roam the Australian outback? Look it up, ask your teachers, and keep that amazing curiosity alive. Thanks so much for joining our Animal Kingdom Safari, and happy studying!